The supplement industry operates with virtually no oversight and no regulations from the federal government. Because of this, they can make claims about miracle cures that go unchecked, and the consumer continues to fall for those claims, unfortunately. But journalists have caught on to this scam, and I have Howard Nations with me now to tell us what's happening. Howard, thank goodness for the AG up in New York, Snyderman. I mean, he's been active against Wall Street. He's been active now. Finally, he's taken action on supplement scams that are going on all over the country. What's your take on what's happening up there?
Well, you're right. Kudos to Eric Snyderman, because last week he told 4 major retailers, Walmart, GNC, Walgreens, and Target, to pull these failed tested products from their shelves. New York did an investigation, and the DNA testing of those products showed that St. John's wort contained no St. John's wort. Ginkgo biloba, none. Echinacea, none. What they found instead was that they had cheap fillers that were not on the label. They were using rice, mustard, wheat, and radish. Now think about that. If you have gluten allergy, for example, and you think you're taking St. John's wort, and in fact you're taking wheat, this is dangerous. Now Walmart pulled them from their shelves, but typical of Walmart, they continue selling these same products online even though they know it's fraudulent. The New York test showed that 21% of the products tested, only 21%, contained the DNA of what was on the label. That's amazing.
Okay, so somebody, for example, that might be taking St. John's wort, for example, because they're fighting depression, they're taking it, they're believing that it's something that is curing their depression, or people take that, as you know, for immunity boosts. They're antiviral. So they think they're taking it during the cold season because it's going to make things better, but it's just powder. It's a lie. It's completely made up junk. And Walmart knows it. They clearly know it now, but they're continuing to sell it. Is that right?
That's right. And it's even worse because it contained wheat, which of course could be very dangerous to people with a gluten allergy. So there are real dangers involved in this.
Well, okay, so what is the next step? What happens if you have the New York AG that is saying you can't do these things and they're doing them anyway? It's not just Walmart, it's all the big box stores that are participating in this, whether it's selling ginseng, St. John's wort, ginkgo biloba, you name it. You go to the store, you think that an individual believes that they're buying the real thing. The industry knows it's not the real thing, but there's no regulation here, is there? Didn't Orrin Hatch get involved in making sure that there were no regulations of this industry?
Orrin Hatch made very sure. Back in 1994, Orrin Hatch was approached by this industry, which was very small at the time, much smaller industry, to see to it that they were unregulated. So he got legislation passed in the Senate at the time, which does not, so you do not have FDA control over these dietary supplements. And as a result, Orrin Hatch has been protecting them now for 20 years. And he's on the Friends and Family plan. He got his son in as the chief lobbyist for the industry, and he tied it back into his to his own state. The state of Utah has 1 out of every $4 in this industry, which is billions of dollars. 1 out of every $4 in this industry goes through Orrin Hatch's state of Utah, despite all the warnings, despite all the things that are clearly wrong with this. That's what's happening with it.
Well, I mean, the real shame is we know that some of this really can do people some good, but it has to be the real thing. If somebody says, "Well, we're selling you St. John's wort," for example, if it has to be the real thing, maybe it's going to do them some good. I mean, that's kind of the problem here. But when you don't know and there's no FDA overlooking any of this, is anything being offered by the Democrats or to say we need to do something to monitor this?
Well, Dick Durbin has proposed a bill, and he's joined by our new senator from Connecticut, Blumenthal, and they have offered a new bill that is for the regulation of the industry by the FDA. And they've also called for a national investigation of the industry by the FDA. Durbin says it's unconscionable for these retailers to be deliberately misleading consumers.
Has anybody called Orrin Hatch out and said, look, we know you're doing this because you're putting money in your family's pocket, your son's pocket. You're pushing this non-regulation because you're trying to help your immediate family. You're trying to help your friends. How does Orrin Hatch respond to that? I mean, it's so obvious that this is exactly why he's doing all this.
Yeah, and he doesn't deny it. He says, well, I do exactly what they want me to do because they don't ask me to do anything that's wrong. That's his attitude about it. Yeah, it's okay. So what he's ignoring is this. This is not just a matter of fraud. There are real dangers involved here. Harvard studied this from 2004 to 2012. There were 237 Class 1 recalls of dietary supplements. Now, Class 1 means that there's a reasonable probability that the use or exposure will cause either serious adverse health consequences or death. And the dietary supplements of vitamins, minerals, botanicals, and herbal remedies were responsible for more than half of these recalls. So it's a very dangerous business.
Isn't part of the problem here also the media? Matter of fact, this story really originated in Canada, where you had the Canadian media start taking a real serious look at it, and it was Canada that identified these very serious problems. They were telling, they were in the media about it. The U.S. media ignored it for, about 8 months. As usual, but Snyderman got the information directly from from Canada, not from the United States. We did nothing to even investigate what was going on in these retail stores with these supplements.
Right. Canada said that Americans are spending $5 billion a year on herbal. They look particularly at the herbal supplements, for which they're getting nothing. They were fraudulent. They described them as fraudulent and said the stupid Americans are spending $5 billion a year on them.
Canadians got it right, didn't they, Howard?
Well, it's the American desire for the quick fix.
Yeah.
Weight loss without a diet or exercise, instant energy and greater health in a capsule, long life in a supplement, and intelligence in a pill. But your first clue is if you're trying to get intelligence in a pill, that ship's already sailed for you. Sorry.
Howard Nations, thank you for joining me.
My pleasure, Mike.